Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ones Ready podcast. You're in the team room. We have the commander of Air Mobility Command, General Minihan. Sir, I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, people don't realize that, this is a big deal for our podcast. It's a big deal for me just because, you have a very, people are chasing after you a lot and always trying to pull you off to the side and have conversations with you. So the fact that I actually get to have, the better part of an hour with you means a lot. So thanks for giving us the time.
Well, thank you. I think you're the celebrity, so it's an honor to be here around you.
I don't know about that.
Most people have to pay to be in your presence. I'm here for free, so this is good.
So again, just real quick before we kind of go into some of the topics that we had discussed.
Right.
Tell us how you actually ended up, becoming the commander of AMC.
Yeah, boy, who knows? I think I get this question a lot, and what I tell the young airmen or anybody that's asking is, you just got to want the next logical step. So I was fortunate enough to grow up in an Air Force family. My grandfather was a World War II B-26 pilot. I used to beg him for flying stories and war stories as he sat on the foot of my bed before I went to sleep. So I'm executing Plan A. I wanted to be an Air Force pilot. Extremely fortunate, to be here. But I think I'm normal. I went to pilot training. I worked my butt off to get through that. When I went to my first operational squadron in the C-130, I wanted to be the best co-pilot. And then when I upgraded, I wanted to be the best aircraft commander and then the best instructor pilot. So, really wanting the next logical step and working your tail off to get to that was a method that worked for me. And then like all of us, you kind of make your career decisions based in, 4 or 6 or 7 year increments. So I could have never foresaw that I would be here almost 33 years later. But my wife and I always had this conversation: are we having fun, and is it a healthy place for us and our family? And even though we've had, real life challenges, we've always answered those two questions, yes. So to, have been a part of an interview consideration to be the commander of Air Mobility Command was in itself a humbling experience, and then to actually be selected is incredible. But it doesn't speak about me much. I mean, it's more the contributions of the collective, the airmen, certainly my family, the joint teams that surrounded me getting here. It's more of a statement on them.
No, absolutely. I mean, we don't do any of this on our own.
That's right.
Wherever we happen to make it,
That's right.
is not. Yes, some of it is our own merits, of course, but no, it's the support and guidance and mentorship of other people.
There you go. I mean, there's people above you that pulled you along, and there's people that surround you that that just assist in every manner possible. It's really humbling.
Yeah, and that's kind of a mentality that you've got to have. And I noticed, you used a specific word. I wanted to be the best. And that's one of the things that we talk about a lot is hey, in reality, you will not always be the best. Sometimes you will absolutely be the best, but oftentimes it's about being the best you, the best that you can possibly be. Yeah. When I show up to work every day, whether it's you flying or you commanding your AMC staff, or whether it's me at the weapons school going out to the range, I need to be the best that day, because I am here for the enterprise.
Right.
And really, our nation depends on us trying to get after it and be the best that we possibly can.
Absolutely. I've got this cager that I developed that's it's an attempt in one page to show everybody that's going to work with me what it's like to work with me. And one of my opening lines on my cager is, "There's nobody harder on me than me." And when your head hits the pillow and your brain is focused on recapping the day and some judgment on performance, I mean that's a critical point. And while I also forgive myself for when I fall or fail, I also have a plan to step in and fix that blemish or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think that I can't claim credit for that as anything unique. Certainly, probably more of a reflection of how I grew up, in a family that, was surrounded me with love, but also surrounded me with high standards.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a saying that we talk about, saying failing fast. If you sit here and you dwell on a mistake, I've made 50 mistakes today already.
Yeah.
Every single one of us have. But if I were to dwell on each and every one of those, I wouldn't improve and I wouldn't get past it.
You're right. The other way, in fact, I had the honor to speak at the Air War College graduation yesterday. And, we talk about, I'm wonderfully exhausted at the end of the day. And it's not the physical part. It's just what I saw today, being here at the weapons school, seeing the students go through the process of becoming weapons officers and advanced instructors. And you can't help but get, intoxicated in the most wonderful way on, their enthusiasm, their passion, their hard work. And so when I say I'm exhausted at the end of the day, I'm exhausted trying to keep up with the amazing airmen around me.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to be. I mean, that's exactly the team we want to be on, where we respect each other enough to tell the truth, but we're present. I decide to be present. I'm present here. I'm here for you. I'm here to focus on you and your issues, this team and this team's issues, and to really, really try to move things forward. Not be satisfied with the status quo, and be unforgiving in our relentless pursuit of perfection. We'll never get there.
No, we won't.
We'll never get there, but we can certainly try.
Absolutely. And so you actually have, and I actually kind of looked for something. I didn't see anything published on it, but you've got kind of a mantra that you're passing through AMC
right.
called Warrior Heart. You mind talking about that a little
Absolutely.
bit?
Warrior Heart is not a program. So, an airman, going to, a first sergeant or a commander or supervisor saying, hey, I want to know about this Warrior Heart. There's not like, you can't enroll and things like that. Warrior Heart is about leadership. Warrior Heart is about a culture, and it revolves around a couple of things. The first is it elevates mind to the same level as body and craft. We all day long in the military pay attention to our body and our craft. We go to PT to get stronger. We go to the doctor when we're not feeling well. When it's time to train with our craft, we accomplish checklists. We go on sorties. We go on missions. We do big briefs and plans, and then we execute. We debrief it. So, the body and the craft places in a really good part. And all I wanted to simply do is elevate the mind to the same thing. We normally treat the mind like it's an emergency room procedure. And, it is the same like every part of our professional and personal life. We can strengthen it. We can do better. We can go for a tune-up if it's not where we want it to be that day. And so we just simply want to elevate mind to the same level as body and craft. That does a couple of things for us, more than a couple. The first thing it does is it allows us to eliminate the stigma, that, seeking help or seeking to strengthen your mind is anything bad. So eliminate the stigma, lower barriers, remove every barrier possible to folks that need to address their mind. And then if we can do that, then we can increase access and options. Mm-hmm. And so this access and options is an important one for me. In fact, it's perhaps the most important one for me. It doesn't always have to involve a mental health provider, although it can. But we've got peer. This is going to be a therapy session for you and me today.
It really is.
As we go through these things, I know it is for me too. We can look to peers, we can look to comrades, we can look to crew members, we can look to teammates, we can look to so many places. We can look to family, we can look to chaplains, we can look to MFLAC, we can certainly look to mental health providers. And there's a lot of civilian options that are out there too, including a whole lot of virtual experiences that are gaining a lot of popularity. So, that's really the case. If we can do all that, then we create this will to win. When you go through survival school, up in Fairchild back in the day, at least for me, they talk about the will to survive. The most important factor in an airman returning safely is the will to survive. And I believe that's us in any conflict or challenge moving forward. If you have the will to win, the team's going to find a way, the individual's going to find a way, and if we do all that, then the mission will be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that resiliency, that mental resiliency also plays a part. And everything that's part of that is your chaplains, your MFLACs, or your military. I try not to use too many acronyms, but I that's the way we speak. So,
right.
But I mean, going to the gym every day. I know that today you worked out with the fire dogs out there.
Yeah.
Doing some tower PT.
We thought it would be cool to run to the top of the tower 11 times with a 20-pound vest on. So I know that is microscopic compared to the ruck that you carry, but for the old man, it was emotional.
Right, but then you still get better. Yeah, you're beat down, you're tired, right? But you're still getting stronger, and that's even that physical aspect of it also plays into the mental. Like
there you go.
It toughens you mentally. I tell people, because our demographic is 15 to 35-year-olds, folks that are interested in Air Force
Right.
special warfare. So they're looking for every percentaged edge that they can get
Yeah.
on things, and they're like, how do I become mentally resilient,
Yeah.
mentally tough? And sometimes it's just getting out there and crushing yourself. Sometimes it's saying, I'm going to go out for a 6-mile run. At mile 3, I'm starting to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just going, well, the house is right there or the car's right there because I'm running on a track. No, you've got to keep going. Slow it down if you have to.
Yes.
To slow that pace down. But make sure you finish. If you say you're going to set out and you're going to do something,
Yep.
you finish it.
It's the will to win.
It is.
A couple thoughts on that would be, the most physically and mentally challenging thing outside of my job in my personal life was a race I swam in Hawaii, a 2.4 mile swim, and the head lifeguard before the race said, it's the worst current I've seen in 30 years of doing this, and tried to talk everybody out of swimming. So most people didn't listen, and it was a day that they pulled a lot of swimmers out of the water. And what was supposed to be 2.4 miles for me was 3.7 miles. As I had negotiated current, and there was one point in the swim where actually a wave went out and I was laying on coral.
Oh.
So I had that demon on one shoulder saying, Minihan, you've never quit at anything in your life, and you're not gonna quit now. And then I had the other demon saying, but this would be a really good one to quit on. This would be really good. So, I really, not in a arrogant way here, but I managed. I finished, and it's it would have been easy, when I was laying on that rock to just take a couple of strokes and be at the water's edge. But the ability that afforded me, the opportunity afforded me to learn something about myself, push myself in a place I haven't been, both mentally, was absolutely exquisite. Speaking directly to the young crowd, there are things you can do now that it can improve you today. Now, prepare yourself mentally now, physically now, and in the craft at hand. You can make changes right now that will affect your now. And then there are things you can do right now that can affect your future. And they're both, it's not crazy logic, but they're incredibly related.
Oh.
But what I love about being on teams like the folks in here and teams with you is we generate courage and strength off of each other. So of course there's challenges out there. There's personal challenges, there's professional challenges, there's environmental challenges, and nobody's immune to real life. Nobody's immune to real life. But, if you and I are in the back of a C-130 and we're going to go do something crazy scary, and I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, and we know we've got the training and we know each other and we know we got a bond and we know we can count on each other and we know we can communicate without actually having to say anything with an eye contact or a nonverbal, then those things are incredibly powerful. And all that power lies in, is generated from within, but is magnified by the team around you.
It is, and that we've actually talked about on the podcast before is as many times as I've been in the back of a Chinook or a 130, and we're going in to do a helo assault force, or the ramp opens on the back of 17 or 130, and it's pitch black outside, and we're just wearing our NVGs, and there's no lights because we're jumping in the middle of the desert or something like that. It's scary, but at the same time you're like, well, I'm not alone.
Right.
And everybody's here, and we're about to go get after it. And it's a great feeling. And you can actually feel that in the brief we just left a little while ago with the Joint Forcible Entry mission that we're doing here at the Weapons School. I mean, you've got nearly every mission design series or platform that we have in the Air Force, and we're all kind of focusing on a common problem.
Right.
That we all play an integral part in, and we're about to go get after it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think I described after the brief. They asked me if I had any comments, and I just said it's inspiring. It's an inspiring plan and brief. I think it speaks to high performing team, and there's this place specifically, where we're at today, Nellis Air Force Base, is an example of longevity and high performing teams. Teammates that don't pass the opportunity to encourage and lead each other, but also never pass the opportunity to provide the debrief and the feedback that may hurt at times, but is absolutely necessary not only to move the team forward, but to move the individuals forward. So, surrounding yourself with people that are positive and things that are positive is an enormous part of things you can do now that absolutely help your now and the future. So, when you evaluate your life on, what's making my life easier, what's making my life better, and what's making my life more fun, you really get a sense of what's positive and what's negative in my life. That team in that briefing room can do anything, can handle any challenge that this world can throw at it. They're young, they're professional, they're enthusiastic, they're passionate, they're patriots, they're well-trained, they're exhausted.
Yes, they are. They're pretty tired right now.
Yeah, they're exhausted, not just from 3 or 4 nights of planning, since they've been here, but for the previous 6 months and what they get. So they're generating courage off of each other. They're feeding energy to each other. They're helping each other out. And, there's no doubt in my mind that tomorrow's mission is going to be a handful and that they're going to learn something. But the success has already been, an enormous part of the success has already been garnered just in the way they presented to me. So that's exactly who I want to be surrounded by. That's exactly what I describe. I'm wonderfully exhausted. That's the team I want to be in. That team looks like America. That team acts like Americans and patriots. And, regardless of what the challenge is, they'll throw down and they'll get after it and they'll be successful.
It's infectious too. Yeah. When you surround yourself with folks like that, and it's just something that you want to be a part of, even if you're almost as an outsider and you see it, you're like, hey, how do I get into that?
Yeah. Well, a comment inside my head as this going down is everybody needs to see this. There just needs to be a way that you can get away from the drama, that happens online and all the other stuff. And America needs to see this team getting after this problem. And it would make everybody better for having seen that.
Oh, you're 100% right, because, there's any news, apparatus that you're listening to, like it can be daunting, especially if that's all you're getting, negative.
Right.
And you mentioned having a positive attitude. Like one of my things is you always have PMA, positive mental attitude, because it can get you through so much stuff, whether it's work, home. It's not the solution for everything. But if I have something bad going on in my life and then I also have a bad attitude about it, like, okay, well, we're not winning here.
Double whammy.
Right, exactly.
Double whammy.
But the work that these folks are doing at the weapons school, the Air Force, the Space Force, the DoD at large is incredible. And there are people that wanting to get after it. And they recognize the problem, and they're dealing with issues at home, medical issues. They're dealing with things related to work issues within their own community. And they're still understand what the mission is and what they have to do to protect America and advance our needs, I guess.
It's great insight. I think, one of the things I describe, people say, what consumes most of your energy? And I think I've got this about right. What consumes most of my energy is the decision to be present for the venue I'm in, And what my venues can change rapidly throughout the day and throughout the week. But that's an example of a team that has decided to be present for that mission and for each other. And the same is true in every other part of our life. When we come to work and we've had a bad day, can you decide to be present to get the mission and the airmen and the joint team going? The same thing exists in our family lives too. Can you decide to be present for your family, at the end of the day, when it's the hardest energy to generate, when you've been up the longest, when you've handled the most challenges, when you've done all the things that wearing a uniform deserves, can you be dad? Can you be hubby? Can you be mom? Can you be wife? Right. Can you do all those things? So it really is I think it's a decision that you make. And then, and if for some reason that decision is difficult, then that's probably a conversation that needs to happen. But the decision to be present is one that requires a lot of energy.
And that's a lot of times, that, at least for me anyway, that's tougher than the day-to-day job.
Yeah.
You know, is like I actually played catch with my son last night, and it was bad. I was thinking about last night. I was like, I don't remember when I did that last.
Yeah.
Isn't, you know, take him camping, go to the movies with my daughter, or, you know, go on a date night with my wife, but like it is not as often as I should be.
See if this works for you. See if this works for you. The you know, you wear the uniform. You know, you and I both get a fit rep once a year that, you know, tells us how, in your case, tells you how awesome you are. You know, at the end of a tour, there's a medal that generally accompanies it. It tells you how awesome you are. When a promotion recommendation comes, you know, there's opportunities. But, you know, our families don't often get that feedback, and so I think it's you know, it's important that we always take time to recognize that our families, you know, are the true foundation of what we do. The other part is, and I'm guilty of this, and I'm working on this to get better, is you generally save your most appreciative thoughts for when you're on a stage in front of everybody. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes.
You know, but how often time you just walk into the living room?
Say, I appreciate what you're doing.
Ashley, I love you. Thanks for hanging with me. You know, thanks for what you do for our airmen, their families, and all that stuff. And you know, sometimes we forget that it's okay to, you know, be in a, you know, just a 1v1 conversation with the people we love most that just says, you know, God bless you. Thank you for hanging with me. I love you. I'm not perfect. I'm trying to be, and just start from there.
Try to be the best.
There you go. Perfection. Chase it down.
That's it.
Chase it down.
So AMC, or Air Mobility Command, is getting after some, you know, we'll just call it the pacing challenge, and you know,
right.
And you guys are getting very creative. The Mobility Air Force is getting very creative.
Right.
So you're talking island hopping, landing on unimproved and improved landing zones. We're talking about doing agile combat employment, and so how much of that is like where we are at now versus where do you envision AMC going?
Yeah. Well, you saw, first of all, it's humbling to watch this team in action every day. You know, so we are the airlift, we are the air refueling, we are the aeromedical evacuation. We're all the things on the ground, which we call the Global Air Mobility Support System, the GAMS. So we are a lot of things, and I know that one of your previous podcasts, you had talked to the team that was on the ground in HKIA, Afghanistan, helping with the evacuation. That's an example of what Air Mobility Command can bring to the fight. So, we're part of a team, a joint team, that can provide the maneuver. I like to talk about the maneuver a lot. We provide the ability to put the joint force into position to be successful and to win. And I view the challenge, regardless of where it is in the NDS, but certainly in the Pacific, is that the air mobility team, is the meaningful maneuver. There's too much water and too much distance for anybody to do it as quick as we can. So, with that as the backdrop, we're working, our every waking hour, every waking minute revolves around trying to get that as close to perfection as we can. So there's a lot of things in there. I'm from the, I was coached to this by a good friend of mine named Jim Slife that talks about 3 approaches to solving tough problems. The first approach is, can you adjust your tactics, techniques, and procedures and make better use out of what you have now? The second approach is to say, hey, there's probably value that exists that you don't have, that you just might need to go out and buy, and then you can make the force that you have now even better. And then the third approach would be, hey, something doesn't exist, and so we could describe something we need, and some smart people out there will work their tails off on it and give us a new toy or something new from which to make us better. So I'm really focused on the first 2 right now, which is what can I do that can accept some more risk, maybe approach the problem set a little differently, to make the most use out of the team we have now. And you described a couple of them. Agile combat employment is an Air Force concept that provides agility. Every service in the DoD has an agility concept. If you're in the Marines, it's EABO. If you're in the Army, it's MDTF. And I know I'm throwing out a whole bunch of acronyms
You're
here.
good. I'll either spell it out.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show
description.
notes.
Yeah.
Show notes. I know about those.
Somebody knows. Somebody knows about podcasts.
There's MDO for the Navy, so we're going to have to support all those. If you're going to stand up and say that Air Mobility Command is the meaningful maneuver, my obligations don't end with the United States Air Force. I'm certainly doing ACE and I'm supporting ACE, but I'm also trying to make the entire joint team successful. So we're working on a lot of concepts, and you see a lot of them in the news lately. You see that we're putting up, large packages up in the air. The probably the most notable one that got a lot of visibility was the 24 ship out of Charleston. There's examples of that, all over the AMC echelons right now. We're landing on highways. We're doing refueling in different ways now. We're doing extended range operations, that go well beyond the number of hours that we've normally used that a crew can operate an aircraft safely. So there's a lot of things out there TTP-wise that we're really trying to be ready. The most notable one is we're going to, Mobility Guardian, which is Air Mobility Command's premier exercise. It happens every other year. We normally do it over the mainland. We're going to go forward into the Pacific Theater, and so we want to join the joint team over there. We want to make everybody successful in all their exercises. And, the number one thing we can do is we can demonstrate that we have the will and that we're ready. And for that applies to any potential adversary, not just one. Right. So we can demonstrate the will and that we are ready, then that goes a long way to saying, hopefully if there's someone thinking out there that they want to take us on, they open up the window, look out at us and say, I don't want any piece of that. Yeah. And there's an enormous allies and partners piece of this too. So it's not just about, Team America, but, we've got, the most incredible allies and partners on the planet. Air War College yesterday was a great example of that. Almost a quarter of the class are allies and partners from all around the world, which is really cool. And, they're aligned with us, and we need to integrate with them as well. And so Mobility Guardian is going to do a big part. We're going to put some of those techniques and procedures into practice. We're going to test some of the things I talked about. There is value that exists. We're going to test some of those things out to see if we can incorporate them into the kit. And we're going to walk away from this exercise with a healthy appreciation on what we got that works well and what we have that we need to improve on.
But it's going to be uncomfortable, right? I mean, it's going to be uncomfortable for you as the commander that accepts risk.
Yep.
Each one of those air bosses that are going out there, those aircraft commanders, like it's uncomfortable.
Yep.
But that's where we've got to get to a point where we are in a scenario that is uncomfortable, safe, or at least mitigating risk where we can.
There you go.
But it's got to be uncomfortable.
There you go. I mean, so it all, you have to base your uncomfortableness on what is the alternative to being uncomfortable in a training environment where you control, not all, but a lot of the dynamics and the variables. Mm-hmm. So if, I believe, when the chief of staff says move out and take some risk, that, we all need to move to a fairly uncomfortable place. You described that perfectly when you talk about training. It's okay to be uncomfortable. The last thing you need to be is uncomfortable. And then when you get to the show, you fail. So I base my uncomfortableness on that. If I am the maneuver, not in an arrogant way, but if we can agree that Mobility Command is a maneuver, then that team that takes the field has got to be ready. And if it's not, that uncomfortableness far outweighs any uncomfortableness you're going to feel now during the training part.
And that's where you and I fail, if that's the case.
You got it.
Like, I mean, that really is the failure of the crews, the failure of the folks on the ground, the failure of the combat air force, space force, all of the above is down to those folks that are in leadership positions that are setting the tone and accepting that risk and understanding that we have to push the limits.
There you go.
We have to.
There you go. Trust each other enough to tell the truth. Trust each other enough that we have each other's backs when it, if it's not the optimal outcome. And then trust each other enough that when you don't meet the intent or the standard, that you double down on it. If people our age get it right, it will naturally lead to success underneath. if it fails, it won't be because of the team underneath. It'll be because of people with the color of my hair right now. So, I mean, it's on us. It's on us to lead through this. And you know, at times I feel uncomfortable, but, you know, just tying it back to your description of the briefing there, you know, they get it.
We just got to get out of their way.
Yeah, exactly. They need us to get out of the way, and they need us to bust down barriers for them. And if we do that, then they'll water our eyes each and every time.
100%. Well, sir, I've only got, because I definitely want to be respectful of your time. We're sitting at 31 minutes right now, but so time flies, right?
Time flies in the team
That's
room.
right.
I've finally been invited in.
It's taken a little while to get you in here. Not through any part of your own or voodoo, but I did want to hit on two different things before we kind of close out.
Okay.
You guys recently did something called Accelerating Legacy.
Yeah. Where
you took, I believe it was 4 C-17s, went around to different locations, picked up around 110 ROTC cadets, and did something. So I really did try and look up, do some research on this. But really, the 62nd Air Wing, I've got a buddy who's on the CAG there, and he was telling me about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I got to ask you what's going on here.
It was cool. So the cool facts are, they invited me into a program that's been in existence for about 3 years now, and it was incredible. So, Accelerating the Legacy is based on the Tuskegee Airmen and the rich heritage of African Americans in the Air Force. The 62nd Airlift Wing of McCord came down, and then a series of about a formation of about 4 C-17s traveled around to historically black colleges and universities and picked up ROTC cadets, and then we all collapsed on Charleston. And an event on year one was about 78 people. Year two is about 200, and then this year was upwards of 600. Was absolutely inspirational. And it's absolutely consistent with everything we've talked about today. It talked about eliminating stigma, lowering barriers. It talked about the team and the collective and making each other better. It talked about, what it takes to make this Air Force the best Air Force on the planet. We had a Tuskegee Airman there that was describing, his challenges. And I'm telling you, if we put a P-51 Mustang on the ramp in front of his house, he would strap that on and he would attack. He would attack with a vengeance anybody that would chip away at this great nation. So, at the same time say, here's some things that could have been done better, and here's some ways to improve. So all that can exist together. We're going to go up. I'm fortunate enough to have spent some time with my grandmother, who, this is going to sound bad, it's not meant to be, because she lived to be 101. She passed recently, but one of the last times I got to see her, I was in Phoenix, Arizona. And we went up to Page, Arizona, and my wife and I were just there for a tourist event. We were going to see Antelope Canyon, and had the chance to interact with the Navajo Nation. And I'm telling you, there is a warrior culture there and a patriotic culture there. I was running into gentlemen with Air Force veteran hats on, and he was telling me about how he worked on SR-71s and F-4s and such, and really just proud of his time in the Air Force. And I made a decision that I'm gonna take a C-130 up to Page, Arizona, or a C-17 or whatever, and we're going to go have a conversation with the Navajo Nation and try to see if we can have a similar type event there. Nice. So, but that Accelerating the Legacy event was really cool, and I think it shows you, the art of the possibility on what we can do as we try to make this Air Force look like America. I don't think that's asking too much.
Nope, I don't think so either. And so the last thing that I would have for you is I talked about the demographic that we have, 15 to 35-year-olds that want to join the Air Force. What advice would you give to them, whether they're going enlisted, officer, going to the academy, what would you, because you got a lot of wisdom there, sir.
Yeah,
We've got a lot of years between the two of us.
Well, so. I do have years. I don't know if I have wisdom. The first thing I would say is, you absolutely, if you've got the goal, I want to support you. You've got a team here that's wearing the uniform that wants you in. We all had to go through a journey to get here. I didn't have the package that survived the Air Force Academy, level. And, so my path changed from Air Force Academy to ROTC. You got to look at challenges as just an opportunity to change a little bit of the direction, but not change the goal. And you've got a team here rooting for you, and this podcast is a great example. I think I think it's great. You got a team here that is taking time out of their busy schedule to make sure that they have any potential recruit has everything they need to have a positive outcome. Real life happens. Absolutely, real life happens. Sometimes you have control of it, which means you need to have a chit chat with yourself on the improvement needed. And there are sometimes you have no control over the externals that can affect your life. I had the opportunity to read Chief Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. Have you read it?
I Can't Hurt Me. I haven't read his new one yet, but Can't Hurt Me one's good.
Yeah.
It's
Can't Hurt Me.
humbling.
I'll tell you, it is completely humbling. And I did the audiobook. So Truth in Lending, I read a lot of books, but I listen to them.
Well, sir, his audiobook's actually better because he throws in the extra.
Exactly where I was going. It's like a podcast in between each chapter. So, I mean, and the way he describes his challenges, the way he describes his mental fitness going in and the journey he had to take to make his dreams come true, I mean, it was completely humbling. But it's also an example of kind of what I opened up with. There are things you can do now that can positively affect your now, and there are things you can do now that it can affect your future. So, if you're struggling out there, do an evaluation on what's positive and what's negative in your life. And the negative stuff, you got to get rid of it. To the best extent possible, get rid of it. Surround yourself with people that want to make you better. That's the benefit you and I have now. Might not have been apparent in the early days. Might not have even been apparent when we were trying to, enlist and join and all those things. But it's very apparent to me now. I'm surrounded by people that genuinely want to make me better. So if you can get to that point in your life where you're not only doing everything internally to who you are, but also are surrounded by people that are trying to make you better, then the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. I mean, you remind me of we talked to a lot of folks online, and some of them were literally 17, 18-year-old and homeless living under a bridge.
Right.
And they would show up because we have development sessions where we're trying to get people better. And they're living on their bridge, and they'd show up. They were always on time, always humble, always professional.
Yep.
And wanted to serve their country. They wanted something better for themselves.
Love that.
And their future family. I know, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
It's like, well, here I am. Like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing this.
Yeah. The other part of that is I say this in front of, normally ROTC or cadets, or certainly when I was a basic, is the day you're in, the day, you're an airman. I trust that person as much as I trust you, someone that I've known for years on day one. But that's not given, that's earned. And in order to be trusted on day one, even though there's not, an enormous depth of experience, but there's this common bond that comes with just the oath we took first, and then the uniform we'll wear second, that are both focused on a mission that we share. That's pretty big responsibility, both by the person giving the trust to the individual and by the individual receiving that trust. That's the profession of arms, and there's no place that does it better than the Joint Team of the United States of America, and certainly in the Air Force. It is the foundation of everything we do.
That's it, sir. Well, everybody, we're out here. I appreciate you joining us, sir, and taking the time out. It means a lot.
Yep.
It means a lot to me, Aaron, Trent, and everybody else that's out there watching. And I'd be remiss if I didn't, really show some sincere appreciation to you, Voodoo, and all of the crews, like what you brought up, HKIA, all the amazing things that they did out there. So we had guys on the ground doing some incredible things, whether they were Air Force PJs, controllers, SR, TACPs, the Joint Force, but then also the crews of AMC that were out there getting after it with us.
Yes. I mean, the joint team is absolutely incredible, and missions are meaningless without partnerships, and that's a great example of that. And what I'm really working hard to do is to make sure that we put the walk behind the talk when we show our appreciation for those crews. So, we got to make sure that we have captured everything in our power and responsibility to show them that we cared about the incredible investment they made in that evacuation. So that's more than just words. So, whether we're writing citations or fit reps or, plowing through a bureaucracy that may not see it the way commanders see it, then we have an obligation. We have an obligation to them and their investment. We have an obligation to their families to go after as much recognition as we possibly can and to let them be adorned with something that's as strong, if not stronger, than the words we say.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Well,
Love you,
thanks a
brother.
lot.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. We're out here.